Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the International Women of Blockchain, brought to you by Black Women Blockchain Council. We've had, 2 weeks full of wonderful women that have graced our stages, and we've had different topics all across. Yesterday, we had Mind Your Money Monday, and we got introduced to cognitive biases that we all may be harboring when we navigate through this space. I know now not to be stuck in my own echo chamber, and that's very important for all of us to understand that. We also got to learn about some of the scams that are happening in this space. One in particular is like the love scam, and that was very interesting to dive into. So I'm really grateful for all the discussions so far. We've had wonderful discussions since we started on March 1st, and this is a month-long conference. You probably never heard of that before, but you know what? We are women, heroes roar. We're going to bring it to you and present it to you in the way and fashion that only we can. I have someone wonderful that's about to join me soon. But first, let's talk about what we've discussed so far, what we've learned so far. We dived into non-fungible Tuesdays, and we got to know some of the wonderful NFT artists out there. And today is Non-Fungible Tuesday, so we're going to continue that presentation and showing you so many different NFT artists. Tomorrow is Worldwide Wednesday, and during our Worldwide Wednesdays, we've had really deep discussions about Web3 community, which is very important. We need to make sure that there is a community, there is a bond between all of us, because we're all working towards one thing, that's decentralization, correct? And Thursday is Table Talk Thursday. Thursday is when we get to dive into some of the pioneers who are in the space. They're working hard, they're building, they're creating, and we get to find out some more information about them. Then we have Metaverse Friday or Futuristic Friday. And Futuristic Friday is one of our favorites because on Futuristic Friday, we get to go into the metaverse and have a metaverse experience. And also we get to talk about some of the things that the metaverse still needs. Last week, we got introduced to a wonderful vision of a metaverse. And I'm sure there's so much more out there, and we can't wait to dive into it. This is something that we're all creating, and it should definitely keep everyone's cultures as well as individuality intact, right? It should be a safe space. So we talked about, do we need to start policing the metaverse? That's a difficult topic, but it's a topic that does need to have a thorough discussion. So don't be surprised if we continue that discussion. And on Saturdays, we got to meet one of our sponsors, Defentasy, which is a play-to-earn metaverse platform and that deals with NFTs. That's fantastic. We also got to dive into how to market and PR into this space. And that's very important because you want to make sure that you're taking the right approach in order to have your project or your pieces showcased in these major news online publication or newspapers that are very much interested in the space that we're building. And then Sunday we get to center ourselves, meditate, and relax. And that's our self-care Sunday. And Self-Care Sunday, it's all about mental health. It's important for us to make sure that we're intact, especially in light with everything that's going on right now. It's really important for us to make sure that we take care of ourselves, mind, body, and soul. And so last Sunday, we had a yoga instructor, Christine. Christine did a fantastic job, but she walked us through all the processes of yoga, right? We got to exercise those muscles that we have not been able to exercise before. And she told us that it was okay to let it out and groan if we have to, because she knows that some of these muscles probably have not had that type of stretches before. So that was fantastic. Prior to that, the first week, we actually got to meet with Dr. Lemney. And Dr. Lemney is an NFT artist in this space, but she's also a psychologist. And it's fantastic to be able to tap into her. She was able to tell us about what it means to de-stress and what kind of stress there are, right? And why we stress sometimes, which is very fantastic. And also, it was really interesting for us to be able to meditate together, right? It was fantastic. Man, I love this event. And I'm not just saying it because we're hosting it, but I'm just saying it's a fantastic event. This is an event that we want to present to you. Showcase Women. It's created by women, all women committee, and all women speakers. So next time somebody says they can't find women in this space, tell them they're not looking in the right place, because the International Women of Blockchain, which is truly international, we have women from all across the globe. We have women from Australia, women from all of Europe. We have women from North America, South America, the Caribbean, Africa. We have them all, and they have been on our stages, and they will continue to be on our stages. So we want y'all to tap in, join us, and get ready for another NF Tuesdays, which is the Non-Fungible Tuesdays we're presenting to you today. So we'll be right back in 1 minute. All right, thank you for joining us once again. All right, so I'm going to bring Sarala up on stage. And Sarala is a member who is part of our sponsor, Hero. Hi, Sarala, how are you?
Hi, thanks for having me over and happy NF Tuesdays for everyone.
Yes, happy NF Tuesdays to you too. I'm going to leave the stage, have you do your presentation, and I'll come back and ask you a question.
Awesome, sounds brilliant. Thank you. Okay, let's get started. I'm really thrilled to be part of this event and honored to be your keynote speaker for NF Tuesdays. Before we get started, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm the Director of Engineering here at Hero, where we build developer tools for Stacks blockchain. So in turn, you can build applications for Bitcoin using that. We build the tools that enable developers to build, ship, and use apps and smart contracts for Bitcoin. We're a leading entity of the Stacks ecosystem, which is a collection of independent entities, developers, community members, leaders, and over 330,000 Stacks holders working together to build the next generation of apps for Bitcoin. Before Hero, just taking you way, way back, I've been curious about Bitcoin and dabbled on and off since 2011. And prior to Hero, I led the enterprise blockchain solutions and strategy for about 6 years at MasterCard. And today, I would love to talk to you about the tech stack that is the foundation and the components that are involved for building Web3 apps. Awesome. And before we get started with the tech stack for Web3, I would actually like to take you on a journey through time. So let's go back to the future. If you can't tell, I'm obsessed with sci-fi, time travel, and I may or may not have thought about building a DeLorean with a flux capacitor, but I digress. Feel free to leave your favorite movie quotes, Back to the Future quotes, time travel quotes, and back to regular programming. All right, so Web3, what is it really? The internet today, you and I are the products, and the data is really farmed out for profit. In contrast to that, Web3 is really an open source internet in which you and I get to regain that sense of ownership and regain that ownership of our data to get permissionless access to our applications without going through the intermediaries that sit in between us and the data that we own, really. So that journey through time I was talking about, starting way, way back from Web 1.0, which was essentially a read-only format where you were just consuming the content. You had no control over it. Web 2.0, read and write. Web 3.0, where we are at right now, is where you read, write, and own the data. It is more trust verifiable. So let's dig a little deeper. So with Web 1.0, the internet functioned as a set of static pages. It was presented to you as an information in read-only formats. I remember way back drafting multiple static HTML pages that were about me blogs, my favorite music, my favorite movies, whatnot, really believing that everyone was so interested in my life. But again, scouring also through various static content like Yahoo News, witnessing data in the static form as it was. So think about Yahoo, MSN, the very first Google news pages, which were really static. With that came Web 2.0, which is where more dynamic content started taking into shape, where you could read, you could write, you could interact with the data on the web. And to the most extent today, that's where most of the Web 2.0 is and continues to be. We evolved from being readers to creators, and websites then evolved from being to read only static portals to platforms where you were able to consume, you were able to create, and interact with each other, not just with the data. So it was, there were data and trust breaches causing users to second guess data silos. Our financial information, our financial value accruing to a few large companies was based on trading and monetizing of the personal data that they had. So with Web 3.0, now we get to be the owners of our own data, but also often of the very platforms and apps that we use. So if you already know how to build Web 2 apps, you already have the foundational knowledge that is required to build for Web 3. And for developers who are interested in building the next generation apps for web, I intend to really share a comprehensive guide of what the tech stack involves, what are the key components for that in the next few minutes with you. So before we do that again, why Web3 for developers specifically? One, because there's a huge developer demand, right? Developers want more room for innovation outside of the current data monopolies. Developers want to reduce costs, overhead, and the liability of deploying and maintaining those apps. And two, it's already happening, and that's why you should care. Applications built on top of smart contracting platforms have accrued billions of dollars in value. Currently, there are over 40 billion and counting logged into DeFi protocols. NFT sales, NFT Tuesdays, so NFT sales, they exceeded around 2 billion just Q1 of last year. So that brings us to the tech stack that I've been talking about. And here, again, I would love to take you through a journey and a step-by-step of what are the various components. We'll start with the very foundation of the Web3 of the internet, which is the blockchain, take you through what code tools that we have, what developer environment looks like, what testing environment looks like, identity components, and finally the UI, UX, and how can we bring this all together. So let's start with the very foundation, blockchain. Pick your poison. Again, reference to the foundation. If you haven't read that series, it's an amazing book series, even before you watch the TV show. All right, so there are various options for blockchain here, which are the foundation for Web3. And you have various things to choose from here, depending upon the trade-offs that you're willing to give and take, ranging from different kinds of programming languages, varying levels of security, contrasting approaches to consensus, and a lot more there. Think of Web 2 equivalent for this would be, say, an operating system. The dominant ones like iOS, Windows, macOS, Linux, WebOS, corresponding to the foundation here. So we have two main dominant players. One is Bitcoin, which is really nicknamed the digital gold. It is the most dominant blockchain in terms of the adoption, in terms of the market cap, and it's gradually evolving to enable Web3 apps. Developers who want to build Web3 apps for Bitcoin specifically can build them through Stacks blockchain, which functions as a programmable layer for Bitcoin, which wasn't existing until much recently. And through Stacks, developers can build applications, really tap into that 1 trillion market value of latent capital just logged in Bitcoin ecosystem at the moment. As well as building on the most secure, decentralized blockchain that has been released to date. Then we have Ethereum, which is also very, very popular. It is the first smart contracting platform that ever came out. And as a result, there's a large number of decentralized applications that run on Ethereum today. It has the largest developer community of any blockchain out there, and even larger community of users. And then we have a myriad of other protocols, apps, and smart contracts that have been built on EVM, which is the core for Ethereum, and outside it as well. As a result of the popularity, so we have a lot of Ethereum-compatible blockchains. For example, Solana, Avalanche, Phantom. They make it really easier to bridge the applications between EVM and the other blockchains that are out there. So really the next wave of computing will be powered by smart contracts. It's already being powered by smart contracts. All the NFTs that we've been talking about on NFT Tuesdays are really enabled via smart contracts. That is a code that's enabling all this to happen under the hood. And then the decentralized computing platforms that you there. So step one, we picked our blockchain, Bitcoin, Ethereum, you picked your poison. let's start with the code that actually enables the applications or NFTs to be built on this, right? What is smart contract really? It is the code for Web3. It is essentially a program stored on a blockchain that is designed to be self-executing when predetermined conditions are met. Um, since Web 2, what really makes them smart, in contrast to the Web 2 applications, are the self-execution aspect of it. They do not have administrators or controllers. They're fully autonomous code, just executing based on those conditions. In contrast, Web 2 applications have been very, very centralized. There is no need for the autonomous aspect of it or the self-executing functionality that is otherwise needed for Web 3, owing to the decentralization of Web 3. Therefore, the closest equivalent to smart contracting layer that I could think of would be the actual code of the application itself, right? It could be JavaScript if you're writing, or .NET, or Java, or PHP, or all the other web languages. Pick a programming language. And developers choose these languages based on the type of applications they're trying to build, their technical sophistication, and obviously personal preferences. Smart contracts on Bitcoin are really the holy grail of crypto. Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin, envisioned similar designs that we're going to talk about to enable that. So again, for the remainder of the conversation, we'll be focusing on Bitcoin and the programmability aspect of Bitcoin via stacks and Ethereum, because these are the most dominant players. And this whatever we discuss should be applicable with the change and tweaks of some of the tooling that we'll talk about. But the components essentially stay the same. So the code for the web, for the Bitcoin system, didn't really originally start with smart contracts. The Bitcoin was built in such a way that it was limited. It had limited scripting languages by design. With Stacks blockchain, that changed. It provided Bitcoin with the smart contracting layer, and now developers can create and use smart contracts for Bitcoin to build on the most secure blockchain that's out there. And then we have Solidity, which is the dominant language for Ethereum and most of the EVM-based blockchains. But before we compare and contrast these two in terms of their features and why you should choose one versus the other, let's talk about a tiny tidbit. Today, smart contracts are the code for Web3, yes, but there's a huge security problem there. Just last year, the top 10 known DeFi hacks accounts for over 380 million in funds that were lost, and they were irretrievable. And 8 of those 10 in the last year just occurred in Q1, and the biggest 3 were in Q2. So the security for smart contracts is an eternal problem that everyone's trying to solve. And that's where Clarity, the smart contracting language for Bitcoin, comes in. It really tries to solve some of these, right? It is an open source programming language that is optimized for security, for predictability. It is heavily influenced by Lisp. If you're ever familiar with Lisp, which is a very difficult set of languages to kind of master, and benefits from time-tested strengths of those Lisp-like languages. It has brevity. It brings easier to reason about, and it has better composability. And let's take a closer look at what each of those really mean. So Clarity smart contracts, they are predictable. Clarity uses precise, unambiguous syntax, so you know what you're writing. So developers know exactly what's going to be executed on the blockchain. So what you see is what you get. There's no compiler. So the code is interpreted, and whatever you deploy, the contract is really human readable. So that makes it really easy for people to verify what's being executed, to test, to make sure that there are no hidden bugs that are out there. It really makes that human readability like it's a big feature for Clarity. It is decidable. So it is not JavaScript like, where you have loops, for example. So it is not Turing complete. It's also very secure. So it lets developers and users supply their own conditions for transactions. It ensures that a contract will never unexpectedly, erroneously transfer any tokens under the hood. And the visibility that we talked about is also a huge feature. You can read and act on Bitcoin's blockchain state directly. That is a very, very powerful thing that didn't exist until very recently in the Bitcoin ecosystem. So today there are more than 2,500, in fact, probably close to 3,000 smart contracts that have already been written in Clarity and deployed on the blockchain and stacks via stacks onto Bitcoin. There are some apps really popular that are in the Bitcoin ecosystem via stacks. Again, Arcadeco, City Coins, if you've heard about Miami Coin, New York Coin, and there's various other city coins that are coming up. And then Stacks NFT, and there's other lot of NFT marketplaces that enable you to buy NFTs on Bitcoin via stacks. And there's plenty more coming up every day. So in contrast, we have Solidity for the Ethereum side of the blockchain, which is Ethereum's programming language. It is more object-oriented. And if you know the C++, the syntax is kind of inspired by that. It has loops, it has overloading functions, it has variable declarations, and it is not as predictable like Clarity is. And it is specified for the EVM, which is a virtual machine on which Ethereum runs, lives, and breathes. And the code is written in Solidity and must be compiled to EVM's bytecode before they can run. So what runs on the blockchain when you draft the code and deploy it, it is bytecode. It's not human readable, in contrast to what we saw earlier. And Electric Capital's 2021 developer report, if you saw that, there are about 20 to 25% of all the new Web3 development start out on the Ethereum blockchain via Solidity. And some of those most popular ones are OpenSea. You'll talk quite a bit about those marketplaces, Uniswap, Compound Finance. They all have been launched on Ethereum. So we discussed about the foundation. We picked our poison with the blockchain. That led us to pick the code that we'll be using to write the smart contracts, Solidity, Clarity. Now let's look at the actual dev environment and the tools that are there that help you build the apps now for Web3. So we have tools, ID plugins, frameworks. They're really not that different from Web2 if you have used any of those IDEs. You have built-in plugins to enable developers to write smart contracts, code, test them very, very easily. So for Bitcoin, we have Clarinet, that is the tool for Clarity. It also comes with a VS Code plugin. For Ethereum, there's a bunch of tools, but the most popular ones, some of my favorites are Remix, Truffle, and Embark. Clarinet is a dev environment for writing smart contracts and building Web3 applications on the Stacks blockchain, on the Bitcoin ecosystem. It is designed so that you're eased into that world of smart contracts without much friction. Clarinet is a Clarity language-based runtime packaged as a command line application. So it's really easy if you're a command line tool. If you favor command line tools like me, you will absolutely love this. And it allows you to develop smart contracts. It allows you to test. It allows you to deploy them on DevNet, testnet, or mainnet, depending upon what you choose. And once installed, you can choose Clarinet to create a new project, add new contracts to your project, check the syntax of your contracts, coverage, cost coverage of how much fee you're going to pay, make cost optimizations, and there's a bunch of other features that are really cool about it. Then there is the Clarity for Visual Studio plugin. It provides a very familiar IDE experience for developers in VS Code. It has syntax assistance. It has debugging features for smart contracts. It has a really good taint checker or check checker. So it parses the errors and highlights where you need to correct the code. It displays them in line, and there's also very cool inline debugger that is going to come up very soon, and probably Q2 for that. It supports autocomplete functionality as well. Really great tool, nifty tool if you are a Web3 developer there. For Ethereum, we have Remix, Truffle, Embark. Remix is an open source tool for creating smart contracts, building Web3 applications, all via Solidity. Truffle, which is my favorite, not just because it sounds like a chocolate, it is. It is a development environment for writing smart contracts. Again, for any other blockchain that is more EVM compatible. Embark is also something that you could use to deploy dApps on Ethereum or any EVM chain, and decentralized storage networks like IPFS and Swarm. So again, through the journey, we have selected the foundation, we have written the code, we now have a development tool. So we've written probably our smart contract. We're ready to give it a go and see how that looks like. This brings us to testing, which is like the most important aspect of any development, only next to coding. And what are the tools that we have for Web3 for testing is very interesting. So we have something called testnets, or testing environments for Web3. So Web3 applications really do not exist in isolation, right? They have logic that interacts with the network, including the entire blockchain's global state, decentralized storage systems, and more other types of data. So when you create a Web3 app, you not only need to test it in a local environment that you would typically do if you're a Web2 developer, you have to test it in an environment that simulates the real life data sources from the blockchain, which is essentially the testnet. Because once you deploy it on mainnet, whatever you deploy it and whatever executes there is there for eternity, I think. So testnet refers for an instance of a blockchain that allows for a Web3 app to interact with live blockchain data, but without the finality and the immutability of live blockchain transactions. So it's really it's really in the developer's best interest to test everything in testnet before it goes live. Think of the Web2 equivalent for that to be, say, your staging environments or your QA or UAT environments, where you're essentially testing for compatibility, you're testing for performance, for stress, for security, usability, all those things before they go live to the end user. So pre-deployment testing is typically done via, say, Google App Engine or Selenium, if you're familiar with those tools. So for Stacks and Bitcoin ecosystem, there's a Stacks testnet, which is a staging environment for testing Web3 apps built on Bitcoin ecosystem. It produces blocks at the same pace as the mainnet, and it maintains a network history very, very similar to the mainnet. The Stacks testnet also includes a testnet faucet that provides test stacks, tokens to enable transactions on the testnet. For the Ethereum ones, there are three, again, very popular testnets that are out there: Rinkeby, Cohen, Ropsten. I like Ropsten quite a bit. I've used Rinkeby quite a bit. Those are very, very popular. So while testing on a testnet, when your smart contracts get deployed, there's also an aspect of file storage solutions that are available for Web3. Before we dive further into like the identity and the UX aspect of it, a little segue. So apps generate data today, and the data needs to be stored somewhere. Developers of Web2 and Web3 need file storage, different storage options. They have different prioritizations for scalability. Think of your local server farm, think of cloud for Web2. For Web3 apps on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other networks in general, there's decentralized file storage options that are really available that securely store your data. With such storage solutions, you can significantly reduce downtime risks because they're so decentralized. If something goes down, there's the rest of the network that keeps your data live for most part. Unlike Web2, where if your server goes down, your entire website goes down. If part of the link that breaks between, say, your favorite social networking app, your app goes down. So things of that nature are really, really greatly mitigated in terms of the downtime risks. So decentralized file storage solutions make your Web3 apps really also resistant to censorship, because no single entity is holding your data. And it's really difficult to shut down the decentralized and distributed servers. And this is the key element that we originally talked about for Web3, the whole concept of Web3, where you're owning your data, where your data is not just owned by one single entity. It is not it is basically live for most part of the time. So we have a couple of options here. We have IPFS, which is a distributed file system. It is designed to help store, access data for peer-to-peer networks, and secure large files without having to put the data itself on the chain. We have RWeave, which takes the idea of decentralized file storage. RWeave is building a permaweb managed by a global community of users and developers. Gaia, which is a decentralized storage platform that is available for developers on the Stacks blockchain. It ensures that you have high performance and availability for your app data. So with that, we have covered the testing. We are at a place where we're ready to own our information now. So that's where it comes. That's where identity comes into play. So we have read, we have write. Now we own the data for the applications that we're building. So in order to fully realize the read, write, own promise of Web3, developers need a way of managing the digital identity of the users that are using their applications now. So identity management revolves around authentication, authorization, to ensure that the right users have the correct privileges within the app and can access their account. Very, very similar to Web2, but also different. Again, step back in time, Web1 applications, users needed to provide a unique login ID password to identify themselves. So if you were across 50 different websites, which you are more than, good luck remembering all those passwords. In Web2, players like Google, Facebook, and others have addressed that pain point. They have extended the portability of users' identities and apps. But with that ease also comes a risk. So if your Google account is hacked, your Facebook account is hacked, that could mean multiple accounts that were using that login would be compromised. So side note, turn on those 2FA. In Web3, user identity is managed by wallets. A wallet is essentially a unique address that sits on a blockchain that provides a user with identity and a place to store the digital assets like your NFTs or FTs. They serve as a means for establishing user identities using public-private key cryptography. And bear with me here. So public keys are used to encrypt the data, simply put, and private keys are used to decrypt the data. So the possession of the correct combination of these two keys is essentially the key to the identity of any user for Web3. Wallets also serve as the primary medium for interaction. So they let you buy, hold, sell digital assets. You have your MetaMask wallet. For Rainbow, My Ether wallet. For Bitcoin and Stacks ecosystem, we have the Hero wallet, which is very popular. We have Boom, we have Xverse. And these wallets are available as a combination of either browser extensions, mobile applications, or desktop applications, whichever one you're comfortable with varying degrees of security levels. And as you can see, Web 1, 2, 3, the different levels of user ID password, different login providers, or integrating with your provider of choice for security, and then we have the wallet. All right, so we have tested everything. We have connected. We are able to establish the identity of our users. Now comes the actual interaction part and what the means of interacting with the Web3 apps, and that is via the UI UX side of it. So most blockchains have JavaScript libraries with general purpose commands for building applications, managing their user experience. For Bitcoin and Stacks, we have Stacks.js, which is a library to access a wealth of resources for managing identity, authentication, storage, transactions, and there's a lot more on the Stacks blockchain. On the Ethereum network, there's Web3.js, there's Ether.js. Those are your general purpose libraries that you can manage the UX aspect of it to access local or Ethereum or remote Ethereum nodes. So there's that. So we have now gone through a journey where we picked our blockchain, written the code on it. We have built a smart contract, tested it, established the identity. We're able to interact with the blockchain of our choice. We are now Web3 developers. So let's get building. In conclusion, really, the permissionless nature of Web3 means that there are lower barriers to entry, and independent developers like you and I can easily collaborate to build these applications, create new paradigms. By contributing to new web applications, you can advance the evolution. I'm really curious and interested to see what is beyond Web3. The tech stack for Web3 applications has really familiar origins like Web2 apps. And if you built Web 2, you can easily become a Web 3 developer. And there's a reason why they look very, very familiar. Only the shift is more towards a decentralized aspect of it, more open source internet, where you and I can now regain ownership of our data, get permissionless access to applications without having to go through intermediaries. And there's a bunch of open source libraries that make this happen. So in conclusion, again, I'm from Hero. We're proud to have sponsored this event. Please join our community of developers and our builders. We're also aggressively hiring, so check us out. And thanks again for having me here. And I hope that this was useful and encourages you to build more apps for Web3. Okay.
Sarala, that was fantastic. That gave us a really good insight into what Hero is building. And I like the fact that now, there is opportunities to develop with Bitcoin, right? Because a lot of people want it. And I've heard the lightning speed or something like that, Does Hero also deal with that, or is that built into your structure?
You mean the Lightning Network itself, or
Yes, the network, yeah.
No? Lightning Network is a separate entity, which is I would say a layer 2 solution for Bitcoin. But they have similar concepts to say, but we are a completely different entity. We are more focused on the Stacks blockchain, and we are the first one that enabled that direct interaction with Bitcoin, which really Stacks glues onto Bitcoin for security. It lets you program the programmability aspect, which was not existent before. It just enables that. And Hero specifically deals with all things developer tools, all things developer experience, user tools, and user experience to enable that.
Awesome. So if someone wants to start building off of Heroes, where should they go?
So there's our website, hero.so, that has comprehensive information. Start with the documentation. It starts off with introduction to Stacks, the basic concepts, and all the tooling that's available. And I can share it here in the comments. I can't comment here, but I can leave it here so you can share in turn. Hero.so. And
Okay. All right.
yeah, I see a question here, Nicole, asking what are the best use cases for Stacks? Basically, anything that can be built on Web3. We have a huge range of use cases that are already live and existing. NFT Tuesdays, and mindful of that, there's a lot of activity today, a lot of players out there. There's Megapont that have a lot of launches that happened over the past few quarters. There's Bitcoin Monkeys. There's a lot of activity, especially in the NFT space. Then we have something like City Coins, like I shared earlier, Miami Coin, if you've heard about that, New York City Coin. There's more on the way. Then we have DeFi players like Alex. We have Arcadico. So if you go to Hero.so, you'll see like a whole gamut of use cases that are actively being built, and we are growing quite a bit.
Okay. All right. Perfect. And then I had a question that came to me in regards to NFTs built off of the Bitcoin stack.
Yeah.
Where are the platforms? How can we tap in and join that ecosystem and start purchasing?
Yeah, so there's stacksnft.com, stxnft.com. There's a Byzantium, and there's a few more. I can leave you the links later or on our Discord channels, but there's huge marketplaces that are coming up for Bitcoin specific NFTs, stack specific NFTs that kind of glue them both together. There's also bridges being built where now you have NFTs that you can bridge between Ethereum and Bitcoin that are also planned. There's a lot happening. So if you look up Megapont, if you look up Bitcoin Monkeys, Crash Punks, I may or may not be owning a few of each of them.
Awesome. All right. So you did mention the NFT bridges. Is Megapunk, Crash Monkeys, or sorry, this is my first time getting introduced to these. Are they the NFT bridges?
So there's more details if you go onto the Megapont newsletter on their Twitter handle. There's more information on the bridges that are being built. Hero is not directly involved with them, but there's this whole ecosystem. We do believe in true decentralization. We have seen a lot of growth in our ecosystem and our community. So these bridges are being built by the community, and which is really exciting to see.
Awesome. I do have a question for one of our attendees.
Mhm.
Can smart contracts be used in other industries? Was her question.
So by industries, you mean non-blockchain?
Blockchain, yeah.
Okay. So a smart contract is really a key term, and a program that executes on a blockchain in a decentralized fashion is autonomous. Um, so it's very blockchain specific. It's very distribute. If you think about like computer programming, it's very distributed networking focused, very blockchain focused. For Web 2, I would say your web applications that you built today on Web 2 that you deploy on your, say, Amazon Cloud, or you're hosting yourself, those will be the equivalent of smart contracts.
Awesome. Thank you for answering that. And then, I just want to dive into your background because it's wonderful to see a female dev who's thoroughly knowledgeable about, the space that she's in, especially when it comes to this whole blockchain ecosystem. We see a lot of male devs, and that's not any shades, but it's wonderful to have a female grace our stage and be able to provide thorough information. So give us a little bit about your background.
Sure. So I grew up in India. I started programming probably when I was in 6th grade, just on my dad's computer, like very, very basic, Q basic, they were called, I guess, just tinkering around. I've been into computers ever since I can remember. So I did computer science and engineering after that. And I came here in 2007. Yeah, 2007. So I've seen the transition between the Web 1.0 all the way to Web 3 now, and I've lived and breathed like through all of those stages. So it's been an exciting journey. Before this, my background has been mostly in the enterprise world, in the banking world, where I spend most of my time in MasterCard, JP Morgan, building enterprise blockchain solutions, which are more close-guarded, more permissioned. And I've joined Hero about 4 months ago, roughly. And it's been a refreshing change to have your work be out there in an open source format for everyone to consume without those gate checks. And it's really refreshing to share the work openly with the fellow community here and everyone across the world. And I love the transparency aspect of the current role that I am at and at Hero.
Awesome. Well, we love the fact that you joined Hero and you were able to present today. So I just want to say thank you very much for that. We are very happy that Hero decided to be our sponsor. And ever since, it's been a fantastic ride. And you guys have been really accommodating and welcoming, and we really appreciate that. So is there anything else that Hero is working on that will come to light soon?
Yeah, so there's a lot of interesting solutions, and we've talked a lot about building apps at the very base layer of the blockchain, which we usually probably call layer 1. But then we're working towards a layer 2 solution. Blockchains are probably not really known for scalability or performance because they're so decentralized. They're built for more for security of your data, not for the speed of it. So we're working on a layer 2 solution that enables you to have best of both worlds while offering all the security, decentralization, and bringing also high throughput, low latency solutions, whether it be an NFT marketplace you want to launch, whether it's a DeFi exchange that you want to launch, or DEX you want to distribute exchange that you want to launch. So that's an ongoing work. So by end of this year, you will see a lot of activity around what we call hyperchains, which is a layer 2 solutions for stacks that we are really focused on at the moment. So very excited about that. In addition to that, obviously, we're continuously improving our APIs, adding new features to our web wallet, our desktop wallet. We are continually improving our developer experience via Clarinet, adding more features to that. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. I love to hear it and can't wait to hear about all the things that you guys will start to release and can't wait to have the community start getting our hands dirty and being involved and developing. Is there any last tips that you will, actually, I have one more question. Are the Bitcoin maximalists accepting of heroes initiatives?
So that's a very interesting question. So our ethos for Bitcoin and stacks are essentially true decentralization and a user-owned internet, and that's where our thoughts converge. The rest of it I'll leave for the Twitterverse and the maximalists and everyone else to air out. But yeah, there's a huge amount of overlap in terms of what we truly believe in. And if one part of Web3 and decentralization grows, it's for everyone else's benefit. It's not one versus the other, but we all go together. So that's where I'll leave it at.
Okay, okay. I won't pressure you about that question anymore. Last question that did come into mind, you can't talk about Bitcoin without talking about proof of work
Yeah.
and then the whole energy consumption. So can you give us a little insight into that?
Yeah, so I have my own personal thoughts on energy consumption. Stack specifically kind of is not proof of work. We have our own consensus mechanism called proof of transfer. It is very, very different from proof of work, but nonetheless, we rely on Bitcoin for that security that proof of work actually offers us. There's nothing else that offers in terms of Web3 solutions out there that offers that level of security. In some shape or form, most of them are centralized to an extent, whether you take proof of stake and things of that nature. So it's a very philosophical question. My personal view is energy consumption. Probably a lot of you will disagree with me. I've worked for big, big corporations that host our data, that are hosting this program right now. It takes energy to run those servers, right? It takes energy to maintain that form of service. When you're hosting data on cloud, it takes energy to do all of that. So there's a huge misconception there.
I agree. I agree. I love the answer, and it's so right. So I love that. And then I guess the last question that I have for you is, with the proof of transfer and the security aspect, this is the whole hero platform and the building on stack. It seems really enticing for enterprise to utilize it. Are you finding that companies are coming in and looking at your product?
Um, it depends on the kind of enterprises we're talking about. Again, coming from more payment and banking industry, they're more closed loop or permissioned solutions where to be part of that network, to be a participant of the network, or to view that data, there's certain criteria you need to meet, or you have to own a stake in that network. In stark contrast, we are an open network. We are truly decentralized. You and I own our data. You and I are free to put out there what we want to, build solutions out there. That being said, there are enterprises that are focused on open source community that are more open, so that we are probably a good fit, but really we are on the ground with the developers and the community, kind of building solutions for them.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you very much, Sarala. I really
It was
appreciate
nice having
it.
me. Yeah, of
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for joining us.
course.
I'm going to let you go, and then we're going to go ahead and take a little break, and then we'll be back with our NFT artists.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great rest of the week. Cheers.
Hey everyone, Munib here. Today is a really special day in the history of this project. Stacks 2.0 is going live today.
This was a year ago. So much has happened since then. So, let's take a trip down memory lane.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Stacker Chat. The city of Miami voted this week to actually utilize their Miami coin proceeds, which is over $4.5 million.
I try to absorb everything that has happened over the last year or so, which by the way, this year, I probably would have said it on some other venue as well. I think when I really look back, there's so much to be grateful about. It's probably one of the best years for this ecosystem. I don't think I would have asked for anything more from this year.
Hey, we're back. All right. So this is Non-Fungible Tuesdays. And what better way to provide you with some showcases of different NFTs that have been created in this space than to do it today? So we have coming to the stage, we do have Esther, and Esther is coming from Nigeria. And Esther was part of the OWO androids, Afro droids that actually became really popular last year. So I'm very excited. And we're going to try to get her here. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties, but Esther, are you there? Probably have to unmute. Go ahead. Yes.
Hi. Your audio is coming out really weird from here. I don't know if it's me. Hi.
Yes. We can hear you. We can hear you. All right, so she's having audio issues. We do have Afro droids on stage that will be presenting to us pretty soon. We're going to try to get her to come back on. So this is very exciting for me because it was the first NFT collection that went viral from Nigeria, which is my home country. And Esther, are you there? All right. Esther, if you're there, you're muted. So maybe try unmuting. We could hear you before. I know you were having difficulties hearing us. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to Corey. Corey is going to walk us through how to navigate through this NFT space. So Corey, welcome and good morning.
Good morning, Nika. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good today, guys. Another non-fungible Tuesday.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah,
I
I'm very excited about Non-Fungible Tuesdays as well. And, I can't wait to start looking at all these beautiful artwork that these ladies have created. But first, you wanted to walk us through how to navigate through this space. Because as you know, we hear all about CryptoPunks, Bored Ape Yacht Club, and all these quote unquote NFT blue chips, right? There's a lot more out there than just those, right? Those are PFPs, but there's artists, real artists working and utilizing the space for really good reasons. And we've been able to be introduced to a lot of those artists so far. So, what is your advice for navigating through this space?
I totally agree. Everybody's familiar with the common, profile pics and generative projects that have, 10,000 or less NFTs that you can purchase. And there's also, of course, one of ones, which are, very specific to, the artist and made for collectors. You guys know, currently the environment that we are in the world in general. With wars and just coming out of a pandemic, and cryptocurrency, NFTs largely being a relatively new digital asset class. So you do have to be really careful because, as we know, because of everything going on in the world around us, crypto has taken a downturn, and crypto and NFTs are very, very closely connected. So we have to be a lot more. specific and particular about the projects we get involved in, and you need to go into the NFT space with a plan. The biggest mistake I made, because I was on board about a year and a couple of months ago, right before the big NFT summer. And you guys know that there has been a 21,000% rise in terms of how much money is spent in the NFT market. So, of course, whenever you have money, that, big, figures like that, you're going to have people, running to the space, and you're going to have a space that becomes literally almost oversaturated at this point with people trying to cash in on the opportunity. So you want to be able to recognize a good program, or I'm sorry, a good NFT from a cash grab. And that can be very, very difficult in the space as it is today, because as you know, it seems like every 5 minutes somebody else is coming out with an NFT project. So I just want to give a couple of pointers and to help people to navigate the space as it is right now. And to be, really realistic about what it is that you are after, which means that you have to come into this with a plan. So you have to decide, who are you going to be in the NFT space? Are you going to be a collector? Are you going to be a person who flips for profit, or a kind of a bit of a hybrid? And I do suggest, if you're new to the space, to kind of not be a hybrid, kind of make a choice. Because if you're like me, you have limited ETH to spend. If you got deep pockets, you can definitely do the hybrid thing. But if you're in this, and most of us got into this to make gains, so you might want to be doing a little bit of flipping. You want to come in here with the mind made up to be one or the other. If you do not, you're going to end up wasting a lot of time, effort, and ETH, and not seeing a lot of gains. So that was the mistake that I made. And it can be really, really addictive. You can get into this and get over leveraged very quickly. And you have to know also the difference between NFTs and crypto. There is no guaranteed liquidity in NFTs, meaning that you're not guaranteed to sell what you buy at a profit. With NFTs, you may end up buying, high, and end up holding the bag, which in crypto means you're left with a PFP that does not have any value. Whereas in crypto, even if the price goes down, you could liquidate or sell that back and get something. Even if it's not a lot. So you definitely want to be, very cautious because of the lack of liquidity in NFTs versus what happens with crypto. So for that reason, have a plan. If you decide you're going to be a collector, then go for that. If you're going to be a flipper and a person trying to make some gains, then do that. And then, as you get comfortable in the space and you know how to navigate it a little bit better, you can kind of do a hybrid thing where you can collect and flip. Don't, try to read the markets. Please do research. Don't go for hype. That's a mistake that many of us make, not only in NFTs, but also in crypto, trying to chase green candles. You don't want to do that in NFTs either. Sometimes a project can be very, very, hyped and hype driven. And then you find that, after you've paid a very high entry point to get into that NFT project, that you're not able to flip it for what you paid, and people are selling for below the mint price. And again, if your plan was to be a flipper, that means that you buy low and sell high. That's the best case scenario. So understand the difference between NFTs and crypto, have a plan, and make sure that you never, ever in any market, whether it's crypto, NFT, stocks, whatever it may be, invest more money than you have to lose. So that is a key point for any investment or speculation that you're making. Make sure that you do not spend more than you have to lose, or you're going to be a very sad, broke investor. So you want to look for NFT projects that have a track record. So you use the example of, say, Bored Apes. The Bored Ape Yacht Club, as we know, is one of the most premium NFT projects. It's considered a blue chip NFT project. So if Bored Ape Yacht Club comes out with another project, that would be something that you could then definitely look to get into, because they have an established track record. If you are looking at projects, again, in the NFT space that just kind of suddenly come on Twitter, they have like 300-400 followers, they don't have a Discord or a website, that's usually a red flag. Those are things that you want to stay away from. You don't want to get into projects that could potentially be rug pulls, meaning that later on you spent your ETH to mint that project and the developers disappear with your money, and the project is kind of left there, and you're left holding the bag. So there's a lot of these things kind of popping up. So be aware when you're looking around the NFT space, you want to invest in or speculate on NFT projects that have real community, preferably community that has been organically grown. You can tell that by the numbers in terms of in the Discord or on Twitter. And not just the numbers, but the engagement. Is the community engaged? Are they having conversations outside of just saying GM over and over again, because people are trying to basically spam the Discord to get what they call the white list, but I prefer the term allow list, which allows you to mint earlier than the rest of the public, so that you don't have gas wars, and you get the best kind of entry point into the NFT project if you're on the allow list. So you want to look for communities that have, or sorry, NFT projects that have engaged communities, and not just, again, like I said, a lot of hype. They may have a lot of numbers, but those numbers could have been purchased. They may have a lot of numbers, but the community's not engaged. They're not like having real conversations with each other. They're asking questions like when the moon, what's the floor? They're more concerned about the price. You definitely want to be involved in projects that literally care about adding value back to the community, and communities that care about being engaged with the project. So that's another key point. Look for those kinds of communities that are engaged, involved, and care. Look for the kind of projects that literally want to continue to add value to back to the community. And you can't always tell that by the roadmap, but you can tell that if you see that the NFT moderators, the developers are engaged in the conversation with the community. Whoever is at the head or lead of that project is accessible. You can go comfortably into the Discord, ask any questions that you need, and you're going to get quick responses. You see that the development team is taking care of the community, meaning that they are, maximizing the smart contracts so that gas prices are as low as they can be. Those are the signs that they really do, care about the community. So you want to be looking for those kinds of projects. If you're unsure, have your tribe, ask people that you trust who may have more experience than you do. If you're new to the NFT space, if the project looks like a good one, is the team doxed? And the term dox means that do they have a face? Can you see them on LinkedIn? Are they anonymous? If they're anonymous, it doesn't mean the project is, automatically a bad one, but it's always good to have at least a few members of the team out there willing to be accountable for what happens within the community. And remember, last of all, that there really are no guarantees. But if you do your research, you make intelligent and informed decisions, then you can win in the NFT space.
All right, man, those are some great information and tips for people to navigate safely in this NFT space. And it's all about community, right? It's all about getting to know the individual behind the artwork and making sure that you're tapping into the project that's valuable to you and not just about chasing money. We have a question here. Do you have any suggestions for projects that launched months ago but have few sales? Oh, that's a good question.
It actually is. And I have to say, again, if that community has not grown organically, because sometimes that can still happen, what are the owners of that project doing? You know, are they living up to the roadmap? Are they marketing the project well? If they launched a few months ago and they have few sales, you know, what's the plan? Do they have a plan? Is the community engaged in that plan? Are they listening to their community? Because if they're doing that and you really love the art, you really love what that project stands for, you may not make a fortune on that. It may fall into your collector category. But if you're in that to make gains and there is no plan going forward in terms of growing the project, then you may want to just say, you know, I'm taking the loss. I like the art. So make sure that what you buy, you really do like, because you may end up holding on to that for a while or forever.
Yeah, that is definitely a good suggestion. All right, well, let's go ahead and transition back to Esther and see if she's available and able to jump into our stage. Esther?
Hi, I am available. Sorry, I live in Nigeria and my network is always wacky. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so go ahead, go ahead and talk about yourself and talk about, you know, your experience, your NFT experience, because I know you were part of AfroDroid. So we would love to hear more about that.
Okay, thank you. My name is Esther Eze. I am Nigerian and I live in Nigeria. My NFT experience, I got into NFTs rather working with Owanyete. I've been working with him for over a year. And in August, in June, he got into NFTs in January 2021, and he started telling me all about NFTs. And he would often, we'll have our meetings, and he say, "Oh, Esther, I'm working on this super cool project. There's this thing called NFTs, and I'm making them." And I would listen, and I'll be uninterested because NFTs. I'm not an artist, and I cannot draw a straight line. In school, I would often give friends my ruler and pencil to draw my lines for me. So that's how horrible I am. So he would tell me about NFTs and say, "Oh, it's for artists." I would say, "Oh, if it's for artists, then I'm not interested. It's not for me." And I would just, go my way. But then in June, he started telling me, "Oh, I'm going to create a collection," because I write all the stories for all of O's work. He tells me what's in his head, and I write all the stories. So he tells me, "Oh, Esther, I'm thinking of a collection. This is what I have in mind. Can you create a story around that for me?" And then I was like, "Yes, definitely, of course, I can create a story." And then I wrote the story that we have up on our website and a script. It was supposed to be like a short film that would launch before actually putting the AfroDroids out, but it didn't work out. I still have the script. We actually showed the script to some people in Hollywood. They were really interested in making it into a film, but that didn't pan out as well. But yes, we started working on AfroDroid. Oh, tell me, oh, I need these attributes, and we just took a lot of time working on shit and just adding attributes and all of that. It was fun. It was exciting. I'd never done work like that in my entire life. And then when AfroDroids launched in September 1st and we sold out, I was in my house in Lagos and I kept shouting. My sister didn't understand what NFTs are either. So they kept basically shushing me. "Shut up, you're making noise. The neighbors will hear you. Shut up, you're making noise." And I just kept screaming because I'd never had something, so unbelievable happen to me before. So yeah, that's my NFT experience. After I'm just going to keep talking. After AfroDroids, I had a couple of friends reach out and say, "Oh God, Esther, you're a part of this phenomenal project. I want you to do something similar for me. Esther, what are AfroDroids? What are NFTs? I need you to explain what NFTs are to me. Esther, I just bought an NFT, but it didn't move. What's the plan for your AfroDroids and all of that?" So it got me thinking what to do, how to help my friends, how to help me, because I'm not an artist. So how to help me retain value? How do I personally retain value in this space, even though I'm not an artist and I'm not a musician? Because people like Latasha, they're musicians, and so they still earn from the space. So how can I create value in the NFT space, in the Web3 space? And also answer some of the questions that my friends will have. So that led I and a couple of my friends to create a platform called Faces of Web3. It's where we profile everybody, where we're trying to profile everybody working in Web3 space by telling their unique story, just much like Yinka is trying to do here. Thank you very much for inviting me, by the way. We try to profile them, write short stories about write their stories, where they're coming from, where they are at, what the NFT means to them, where they mean to go, just for other people who are not entirely in NFTs and people who've been burnt before, or people who hear stories about other people getting robbed and are quite hesitant to come into the NFT space, can actually view NFT artists as human beings. And, we're trying to humanize and romanticize the lives of everyone working in the Web3 space with Faces of Web3. So, yeah. Thank you. We have, for Faces of Web3 as well, we have like an event coming up, an in-person event. We want to invite everybody from crypto just to learn, I see events with NFT Miami all the time, NFT NYC, and all the other events that happen abroad. And a ton of artists and myself we do not have our passports yet and cannot travel out to go to all of these events. So we decided to create something like that for Nigerians and other people who are in Nigeria, but for people who work in the metaverse, for people who work in NFTs, for people who work in crypto, just an in real life event for them with Faces of Web3. Also, we'll also use the opportunity to showcase NFTs, because we've been talking about this a lot. I'm intrigued. We're all intrigued by NFTs, but then what's the next? I'm sure that a lot of artists are tired of shilling. A lot of collectors are tired of coming into onto their Twitter spaces and just seeing people endlessly shilling. So we're thinking ways to make shilling easier and more enjoyable with Faces of Web3. So yeah, okay, I'm done speaking.
Thank you very much, Esther. Really appreciate you diving into the background about AfroDroid and how you got involved in that, as well as Faces of Web3, which we have here. It's on Twitter, so you guys can go to Faces of Web3, which is below, and join her community there. Is there anything else that you're working on, Esther?
No, just Faces of Web3. Telling interviews, doing interviews, telling stories, human stories. I'd like to do an interview of you as well, Yinka. I'm going to be in your DM soon. Yeah, humanizing people who are working in the space. Telling about their hard work. Everybody, we all do not have to be on CNN and BBC. So Faces of Web3 is trying to be the BBC for native Web3 stories, and also in real life event that we're planning. So that's all. Please subscribe to our newsletter, our Substack. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Got a question for you. Does shilling mean advertising?
Yes, it means advertising. It's like it's a word we use in NFTs, like come and show me your art. But it can get very persistent with people coming in your DMs and saying, oh, someone actually DM'd me because I bought a friend's art. They DM me and say, oh, I'm a professor of so and so and so. You have to buy my art if you want to make a change, because they heard that ads with AfroDroids, we give 20% to charity, a charity here in Nigeria, charity for young girls, and I've been going to teach the young girls about NFTs. I've been teaching them about NFTs. They didn't have computers, so they used the donations from AfroDroids to buy computers, build a new school, build a shelter as well. So I've been going to teach them about NFTs and Web3 and how they can start earning as young children, because Web3 is also for young children as well. So, I think I went off tangent, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Esther. Really love the fact that you were able to connect with us from Nigeria. And congratulations on Afro Droids. I got a droid myself, so I'm happy. And I'm looking forward to more from the project. So thank you very much. And congratulations once again.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Next, we will have Sabrina. Sabrina, who's part of our committee member. She's also an NFT artist. And we got a chance to dive into Sabrina actually last week when she presented a piece of the segment, all in Spanish, with a few ladies that she met in this NFT space. And that was like fantastic because we got to tap into various women from the Latin community all over the world. And we even got a chance to tap into Cuba too, because oftentimes we don't get that chance. So that was fantastic. So thank you, Sabrina, for coming on. And I'll let you.
Thank you, Jinka. I hope you're hearing me. I think there was a misunderstanding on the time frame, but I'll try to be quick. And yeah, so let me just share a document very quickly here. It's a bit heavy. So yes, I'll present myself. I'm Sabrina Bonini. I'm a Spanish-Argentinian founder of a project called Criptoescultura. And I wanted to show you what I'm doing with Criptoescultura, why I started it, and also show you a bit of the projects that I'm working on. Let me see if this is being updated. There you go. So yeah, Criptoescultura was born to help Spanish-speaking female artists thrive in the NFT space. Basically, when I started learning about NFTs, I realized that it was a life-changing technology for a lot of artists, struggling artists, and artists that couldn't live from their passion. So this is me. I'm Sabrina. I started in crypto in late 2020 to be an investor, to know a bit about it all. And then in summer 2021, I learned about NFTs and I fell completely in love. And I started, being a collector, buying, selling, losing money, earning money, a lot of stuff. And then I discovered all the community of artists that is behind it. And so I realized that a lot of it, well, not a lot, like all of it almost is in English. So there is a big problem in respect of the languages and in respect of the accessibility for other people that don't speak English. In my case, because I'm Spanish and Latin American, I wanted to help the artists and the people that want to get into the space. So I created my project Criptoescultura to educate and to guide in Spanish. So I have a blog, I have my Twitter and Instagram where I give tips. I talk about, the basics and things a bit more complicated. And then I help artists to get into the space. So artists that are not in the space, I help them get in. So I teach them the basics or everything that they want to know. I do a little bit of curation of their project, of their collection, everything related to the art. And I help them launch the first collection or the first pieces. Then from there, I do campaigns and I do, exhibitions and collaborations to make them visible because everything is in English. And if they don't speak the language, the community doesn't really see them. So only the Spanish community, which is growing, but it's very small. So what I try to do is to make bridges between these Hispanic artists and collectors or other artists or platforms in English, for example. So apart from that, I have an open call for artists to, that are interested in getting into the space. I help them. So I ask them for a few questions, where they come from, what they do. I see their projects, their art. And then from there, we work together to make a first collection for them. These are some of the artists that I launched this year. Silustra is a vector artist. She's Argentinian and she lives in Spain. And this is the first collection of 10 pieces that we launched with her. It's in OpenSea, OpenSea/Silustra, and she's Silustra in Twitter as well. This is another collection of a photographer, an astrophotographer that does these amazing pictures only once a month, obviously, because it's the full moon. And this was done with a dancer. And it's in OpenSea, and you can find her in Twitter with moonjess88. Then Yael is another photographer. She's a documentary photographer, and we're launching her this month, actually. And this is going to be her collection, her first collection. I think she's Venezuelan. She lives in Spain as well. And I think she has a super nice style and something I'm really looking forward to launch. And then I have a couple more women coming. One is Ana Clerici, she's Argentinian, and Mara Saiz, she's Spanish. We are working on their collection, but they are coming up very soon, probably in April. And yeah, as I said, so the NFT space not only has a huge gender gap problem, but also has big language barriers. So that's why I wanted to help this community. Now, one of the latest projects that I'm working on is a campaign called Hispanic Women in NFTs. And I joined forces with 14 artists, Hispanic artists from different countries, from Colombia, Venezuela, Argentina, Chile, Cuba, and Spain, to make, each of them made a piece that represents what being a Hispanic woman means to them. And so these pieces are going to be auctioned in a platform called Doing Good, that I'm going to show you a bit later. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to show their pieces in spaces in Twitter. I've sent a press release. I've done a few things so that people see them, and we can make a bit of noise in the space. So these are some of the amazing pieces. This one is from Mavi Prado. She's new to the space, this is the first piece that she's done for me, and we're also going to launch her another collection later on. She's from Venezuela. This is Anne Cesar from Cuba. This is a collage artist that already has been in the space, but is quite new as well, only like a couple of months, I believe. This is CryptoPalm from Chile. She is already in the NFT space. She's been selling amazing pieces as well for a few months, and she's doing super great stuff in the space. This is Ana Regina from Cuba as well. She's a graphic designer and also quite new to the space, but she's got a few collections already out. Ana Clerici that you saw earlier, she's new. This is the first NFT that she's launching. Chabeli Farro, she's not new. She's been in the space for a while, and she's from Cuba as well. This is Ana from Spain. She has already been selling a few pieces. Chelsea Escalona, also Cuban. She's also been selling quite a few pieces and collections. Yael Guerra, which you saw, this is going to be her first NFT. Carla Ruiz from Cuba as well. This is not her first NFT. She's been also selling a few collections. Mara, that you saw earlier as well, this is her first NFT. And Silustra, that you've seen also earlier. Then Jimena Buenavida from Colombia. She's also a very well-known artist in the space who's been here for a few months and selling as well very well. And Lisa Odette as well, a very good 3D artist. And yeah, so this is all going to be auctioned in doinggood.com, which is a platform that runs in Polygon and that actually was created in Spain, in Barcelona. And so the drop date is the 6th of April. And something interesting about this is that it's part of a campaign that they're doing that is called the Doing Good 17 SDG, which is an exhibition that aims to support the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So we are part of different 17 groups of galleries or communities that are participating in this. And so, yeah, just to be super clear, 6th of April, doinggood.com. And if you want to know more about this campaign, you can follow the hashtag Hispanic Woman in NFTs, and also follow me on Twitter or Instagram at CryptoEsCultura. And that's it for the presentation.
Thank you very much, Sabrina. Really appreciate it. We got one question for you. Do you collaborate with people who may want to make their English NFT projects more visible to the Latin community and translatable?
Yes, I haven't launched anyone yet, but I do have some people interested in some projects that I think are interesting. And yes, so part of my goal is to be that bridge between both worlds, no? So definitely, yes, they can contact me. The only thing is, for example, my website, it's in Spanish, but I do speak English. So, I mean, they can translate it with Google Translate, and at some point I will have it in English as well. But of course, if they get in touch through the website or on Twitter, I'll for sure be happy to collaborate.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Enjoyed the presentation. There were some really great pieces there. And good luck to all the ladies that you're representing. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jinka. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, let's go ahead and move forward. Next, we have Kaz. Kaz is joining us, or should I say Sonia? Sonia is joining us all the way from Ghana. And I'm really excited about this because I know Sonia from Clubhouse. And for the longest time, she's been talking about her project, but now she gets to present it to everyone. So come on up, Sonia. Hi, Sonia. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me to join this program. I'm really grateful.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. So I will go ahead and share my screen so that you can talk about your presentation. So why don't you first do an introduction about yourself, and then I'll go backstage and share your screen.
Thank you. Okay, so my name is Sonia Kumi, Sonia Akosia Kumi, and my brand name is Kors. So I got my Kors from Akosia. I tweaked it. It's my day-born name, which is on the Sunday, and that is where I got my Kors. So my brand name is Kors, and my company is Kors Couture. I'm a Ghanaian, and I base here in Ghana. Well, I have been into fashion from the longest while I can remember. My first contact with fashion from my parents, both parents. So I work with them. We are 6 siblings, and I'm the only one who picked up the trade. So I really was working with them. After the secondary school, I have been working with them for about 15 years. It was quite interesting. At the time, they had stopped taking any apprenticeships or workers because at the time, we would move around a lot. We didn't have a really permanent place to stay. So it got really much of a struggle when we had to move, and then the apprenticeships and then the workers to have to move. So they decided not to pick or take in any apprenticeships or workers. So I was the only worker and apprentice at the time. So I got to experience both learning and then working at the same time. Well, so some years later, 15 years down the line, my dad passed, and just before we had been discussing me using this as a trade. So we talked about going to technical school to perfect what I had been learning. So, well, when he passed, 2 years down the line, I went to Tema Technical Institute. I did an advanced course in tailoring. So it was a 2-year course. When I have been working alone since about 8 years now. So I have been experiencing the solopreneur, quite an experience. Until COVID. COVID just slowed everything down. And that was when I thought about working on jackets. And it has been a struggle because I didn't get the kind of support that I thought I would get. And I didn't know what I was doing. Well, thankfully, my brother, Kofi Obobi, he introduced me to the NFT. I am so new to the NFT space. So he's the one who helped me even with my roadmap. And even though I did not respond well to the crazy that was going on at the time, I still held on to my jacket idea. And thankfully, I get to present my jackets to the world to see what I want to show to the world. So what we have on the screen is my very first jacket I made. I remember when I finished it, I sent it to a picture to my sister, and she said, "What is this? This is a crazy jacket." And I told her, well, that is how my life is right now. So at first, I called it Crazy Jacket. But then as time went on, I wasn't there anymore, and I didn't want to take on that narrative because it reminded me, it had this negative connotation to what I really wanted to do. So I had to work on the narrative, and that was when I thought, it is me. So I'm going to brand it Course Jacket. And well, the PFP, she is also Coursepreneur, and she is representing me. I am representing myself wearing my jacket. Coursepreneur is a female entrepreneur representing all females who are grinding hard. And no matter how life is changing, no matter how much struggles they are going through, they still live up to their goals and never giving up on their promises that they make for themselves. And so I am representing myself. I made a caricature of my PFP because we are all not perfect. We all have defects. Yet we come out and then we put on a smile, which is bold and beautiful. My jacket idea is a combination of 3 different textured fabrics, which came from the idea Beauty in Unity. Because I believe that people of all nations, all race, can come together and be beautiful. And the jackets will have African prints in them. But because I also think that African prints blend beautifully with other designs in the world. So, well, my jackets it's not going to be just this blazer. I'm thinking of other jacket ideas. So we have I'm thinking of the bumper jackets, the overcoats, the military jackets, all the types of jackets. But it will be in the cause jacket idea, which is the combination of 3 different textured fabrics. So I think I'm done. I'm so grateful that I'm able to share this with the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sonia. Really appreciate that. Love your jacket. We do have a question. So one of the question is, where is the collection available?
Okay, so because, well, I would like to have this in bespoke. So I am doing the NFTs, and then it would have an unlockable content in there where the collector would have the NFT and then would email me their measurements, and then I will make them tailored to their taste, to their measurements. So that is why I want to have my fabrics, because the design would be one of ones. It wouldn't be anywhere else. So I'll be dropping the NFTs one after the other, but it would be tailored to the clients or the collector's measurements.
Awesome. Awesome. I think that's a great incentive for them to be able to purchase your NFT. So I'm sorry, did you mention the marketplace that it will be available on?
No. Okay, so I have it's on Polygon, OpenSea. So you go to course GH, and then you see you get to my profile, and then you see my collections. Then you can have can buy any of the. So right now I have 2. I decided to make 2 for now because I don't have any fabrics that I would be making them, those one-of-ones. And so hopefully when I get collectors and buy these beautiful jackets, I could buy some fabrics and then make more of these NFTs.
Awesome. Awesome. Can't wait to start having your jackets all over the world and start having people showcase the work that you're doing. I want to encourage you to continue on, and thank you very much for presenting to us today, all the way from Ghana. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Yinka.
You're welcome, Sonia. All right. So while we say goodbye to Sonia, we are going to go ahead and take a 5-minute break, and then we'll transition to our next NFT artist. All right, I'm really excited about this next speaker. It's our very own famous NFT artist, as well as artist. Period. I mean, she's in Paris right now, but she's very dedicated to this space, and she's doing a lot. Like, she's juggling a lot, and on top of that, she has twins. So I don't know how she does it, but I do want to introduce Crystal Petit. Come on up, Crystal.
Hello. Hi, Yinka.
I'm so happy to have you on stage.
I am so excited.
I'm glad that you're here. I know that, you do have some wonderful projects that you're working on, right? And
Yes.
recently you took on a lot more, right? So why don't you take the time to talk about those?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm ecstatic. I feel like everybody in my entourage knows that I'm here. My sons wished me good luck on your presentation, Mom, and they walked me through some of it. So my name is Crystal Petit. I am in Paris, France. I am French American. Although raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a proud Spelmanite. I have lived here now since 2000, so it has been over half of my life. I have twin boys, Dorian and Gabriel, the loves of my life. They are almost 9. One is an NFT artist, and one is a background singer on quite a few of the children's albums that I've produced. So we're overall an artistic family. My husband is French, and we started a band together back in '98 and produced some albums. So that's a little bit about me. I'm also heavy into the French film circuit, French television series, pretty much anything that needs a soundscape or a coach, I am there. But as we all know, COVID hit. So all things associated with things on the set, concerts, even studio work, everything was shut down for us in March of 2020. So I went into a mode that I know very well, which is keep it moving, keep it moving. And so we kind of pivoted and started giving classes online, vocal warm-ups, choir lessons and things like that. But at the same time, in 2020, I got pretty heavy into the crypto world, investing into various coins. Some of them were great. Some of them we will not speak of. And that just kind of appealed to my econ background, because when I was at Spelman, I studied econ and French. And so I kind of went into that old finance and econ mode and really, really went heavy in. But then I thought, you know, this is great, but this is not what I want to do. And so I sort of fell into NFTs pretty hard. So that's where I'd love to show my presentation. Let's see. Oh, this is great. So I, once again, am Crystal Petit. I have been called many things in this space, all really good, thankfully. Every now and then, a little bit of a crypto degen when I kind of FOMO, or used to, hard into a coin, but I don't do that anymore. But my favorite title is that of NFT Godmother. I'm not really sure how I got called that, but I think it's very cute. And I guess I can explain a little bit more, maybe some people's thoughts behind that title. So as Yinka explained, I am extremely passionate about this space. Everybody that knows me in real life and that I interact with, and especially now that concerts have picked up again, they all know about me and NFTs and how hardcore I am about them. So now it's become a running joke. Every time I open my mouth, they just say, is this going to be about an NFT? And I don't even realize that I'm talking about it, but I hopefully do it in a way that's not too annoying. This being said, I cannot count the number of hats that I wear, and I wear a lot of hats. Well, like I'm wearing right now. You know, I came in as an artist briefly, and then I kind of jumped heavy into helping people, specifically people of the African diaspora. I'll get into that a little bit later on. But I really wanted to help out marginalized folks, women as well, because I felt like our voices weren't being heard. So I started taking the knowledge that I had, which was very little at the time, and spreading it around. And I even created an Instagram page that I'll mention a little bit later around that. So once again, my journey began in December of 2020. Like I said, I jumped hard into crypto and studied those markets, and then fell really, really hard into the land of NFTs. I'm talking like I woke up and I was on every YouTube video I could find. I was on Twitter, and I hadn't been on Twitter since 2010. So I had to dust off that little Twitter profile and revamp it and get rid of everybody that I was following before, because now I just wanted to follow all things crypto, all things blockchain, all things metaverse, and all things NFTs. And yes, as we know in this space, things move so fast. I feel like I got my master's degree in NFTs in like 6 months. And I saw a lot of changes from the time that I got in December 2022 to just now. Things have changed and shifted so much. So in 1 year's time, I went 1 year, 1 year's time, 1 year. This is what happens when you don't speak English enough. I went from crypto artist to curator to collector to ambassador. And yeah, no magical formula, no insider help, all me by myself. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how I did it. And more importantly, some things that I think that artists should keep in mind before they jump into this space, as well as those who are currently in this space. And not just artists, people that want to be in this space in general, and, you know, in some way, shape, or form, people that want to join a community, people that want to be a community manager, people that want to help with a PFP project, things like that. Let's see. So it's interesting because now that the word NFT is out there, I have people coming out of just from nowhere asking me to tell them about this NFT thing. And I'm at the point where I do not give private lessons, especially not to the people I love anymore, because those friendships and relationships will be broken because at a certain point in time, it's either a little bit too tedious, I don't have the time, or in the end, I just realized that some people want me to hold their hand, and they actually want me to be what they call an agent, I guess. And I'm not trying to be anybody's agent. So again, it is not a get rich quick scheme. Don't expect to enter this space and make a pretty penny right off the bat. What I mean by that is don't expect to jump in here and make $1 million tomorrow. Obviously, there are some exceptions. There's some surprises, some of them good, some of them bad. But for the majority of us, it takes time. It takes building a community. It takes being genuine. And every week I have friends and family, because we don't exclude the family, come to me and literally say, hey, I got to pay my rent tomorrow. Tell me how to make this NFT. What's this NFT thing? And it's frustrating, because if they took the time to really see what it was and they weren't completely thrown off by the fact that they need money, which we all need money. I get that. If they saw what it could truly be and how it could truly work for them, they would realize that it'd be better for them in the long term. But it's just more and more common that people come to me and say, I want to do this, or I want to buy this and I need some money. How can I sell this? So I really think that there's some sort of misconception, because maybe they do see those few articles of a specific pixelated image that just sold for some phenomenal amount. And so they figure that they could do that, or they see a Gary Vee drawing and they don't get what's behind it. So that's highly important. The second thing is, and I think this is pretty important, it's not really a space where you can hide. What I mean by that, and I'm not talking about those people that come in with their PFPs, their different avatars, and they're more on the investor side. They don't really want to be seen or heard. I have a couple collectors as well who I chat with them and I don't know who they are. They could literally be my neighbor. One of them I suspected was my neighbor. I was trying to play Carmen Sandiego and figure that one out. But all this to say that that's a different story when it comes to people that want to invest and be quiet about it. And that's fine. That's their, as Bobby Brown says, that's their prerogative, right? I mean, some of the younger folks might be like, what is she talking about? Anywho, as an artist, you need to be ready to be out there. And I'm not talking about exposed and all this other stuff, but this is a different playing field. You don't have some gallery representing your art. You are the gallery, you're the manager, you're the artist, you're everything. And for some people, they find it hard, and that is totally understandable. I have a few friends, notably a really, really, really good, talented, beautiful human being of a friend who is just a quadruple threat. And she's equally as talented in every single artistic domain that she makes her art in. So she designs clothes, and she sings and writes for others, and she paints. She just does so many different things, but she's very shy and she's very private. And she was one of the first people that I sort of tested the concept of let me push her art for her, because it's just too good to not be seen by the masses. And it didn't work. It just did not work. We also had a beautiful event here in Paris, and she was an invited guest, and she had her physical pieces, the paintings that she made. She also sang a song with her musician. It was a gorgeous song. All of that was minted on the blockchain, but because she kind of left the scene afterwards, it didn't really work out, and she's more comfortable in her own space. So, she may come back around or things may evolve, but for now, I'd say the majority of the artists really have to be willing to discuss their work, talk about themselves to a certain degree, come on perhaps to Twitter Spaces or Clubhouses, and maybe shift the way they did things before, where it was a little bit more of a cushion, because even as a singer, songwriter, musician, you may have had a tour manager that did this, and you may have had a regular manager that did this, and a label. All those people were taking that money too. So on the flip side of that, you don't have all those expenses anymore. So you gotta kind of be willing to move a little bit to get that financial gain. And again, I can't stress that, because even last week I had a musician that I counseled and an illustrator, and one has since done hours and hours of research on blockchain, on NFTs, on the different platforms, different things like that. And the other one, the one who's more interested in music, has already pretty much given up, and it's only been a week, and he's already asking me if I can just do it for him and if I can just take a percentage. But that is not interesting to me. It's better that we learn this journey as artists, as business people ourselves. And also, lastly, as far as this particular point, when it comes to hiding, there's Etherscan. And I have gone and I have really, really researched who was making an offer on my piece, who was doing this, who was doing that. I love Etherscan for that. Etherscan has saved me, because a couple of times I had offers on my the art pieces that I had bought, the different projects I had bought into, and certain people came in and they underbid what I was asking for, but it was still a really pretty good price. And I said, let me go check it out. And then when I went to Etherscan and did some digging, I found that those wallets, were very suspicious. And 9 times out of 10, some of those wallets were scamming wallets. And I have a good friend in this space who comes from cybersecurity. So if ever in doubt, and I'm pretty good about sniffing these things out, but if ever in doubt, I kind of talk to her as well. And she's amazing. Her name is Simona, and she is in a collective that I'm a part of, that I love, that our dear Anna is also part of, called NFT Goddesses. So it's good to know that, I understand some people will slip through the cracks and scam people, but the further along we go, hopefully the more developed this will be, and hopefully we'll get the security information out to people in a way that they can understand. And so that's as far as not hiding in this space. And again, to me, that's a huge, huge, huge thing. As far as on the collector side, when I go and I scope out, like if I find a piece that I love, now I truly also want to see who's behind it and what the story is. I like interacting with them. I like building a relationship. I don't need to know their personal information, but I do like to know their inspiration behind a particular piece. It has more meaning for me as a collector. And I think that on their end, they're super excited to know that collectors are interested in more than just the one-dimensional, oh, I just bought it, it's just nice. They really want to know more. I think it makes for a deeper relationship. And as far as PFPs, because I'm heavily invested in probably way too many PFP projects, I have scoped out a few scams. I remember when Fame Ladies, the whole thing came out about it being Russians behind them. And I had won a Fame Lady, so I wasn't too mad that I had bought one, but that I had one because I hadn't paid for it. But still, I was mad at the audacity of those Russian men to lie to us about that. There was another project that was Queens something, and I sniffed out that those were not Black women. And every single time that I dug a little bit deeper and asked them questions and asked them to come onto a Twitter space or to a Clubhouse or to a Zoom, because that's where it got to, they kind of backed down, and that kind of blew up in their face. So it was the Fame Ladies and the Queen something all around the same time. So ever since then, before I invest in a project, especially a PFP project, I always do my research, which brings me to my third point. This is not a place for people who don't want to do their own research. So DYOR, do your own research. Coming into this space requires time and money many times. And they're both investments. They're both important. So if you don't want to waste either one, it pays to go and take your time, not jump into something, not FOMO into something. And really learn about that project, really learn about that person, learn about what you're getting, because sometimes projects promise roadmaps that they can't make good on. So if it seems to be too good to be true, it probably is. Or if they don't have a roadmap and you're happy with the art, that's great too. But just know that it's a good thing to come into this space and not jump into a project because, you know, your cousin told you to buy it or whatever. Unless you, I mean, you know, of course it depends on the cousin, because I do counsel some of my own cousins, but just, you know, that person who's not really crypto savvy and NFT savvy. So that's what we don't want to do in the space. And that's what this space is not. Now let's move on to what this space is, because it is a great space to be. I love this space. It is a place to experiment. So this to me is like my playground. Traditional artists can use this space as their playground to put out work they always dreamed of. Others can test out their passions. As far as myself, I am not trained in visual arts. This piece that you see here is one of my pieces. I just shoot what I love as far as photography. Short films is the same thing. Music, I did not, unlike my husband, I did not go to a conservatory. I grew up in the church. So I learned to sing in the church, play a little bit of piano in the church, but I'm not classically trained. But what I am is creative and curious. So here I've worn many hats. I have done everything. I can't believe I'm admitting this, but I'll admit it to y'all. I have done everything from be a hip hop dance teacher. And I was nobody's hip hop professional, but I came to France and I was teaching English and I wanted another job on the sly. So I said, let me see what I can find. And I went to the outskirts of Paris and saw that they were looking for a hip hop dance teacher. So I was like, well, here I am. And I ended up working there for 2 years. I have rhythm and I like to dance. And there you go. But that's a little bit of a joke between myself and one of my best friends here, who's from Atlanta as well, who's a former Alvin Ailey trained dancer. So that is for you, Asha. Anywho, when I'm on set for a film, just either helping out, you know, providing a helping hand with whatever they need, or coaching the actors, or if it's a musical and I'm coaching the singers, or if I'm writing, you know, music for an artist. There have been many times where someone who was on the project has flaked and not shown up at the last second. And what did I have to do? I had to do it, whatever that was. And so that really was the best training I could ever have. Everything from creating huge flyers to album covers, to event planning, things that I had no formal training in. So when I came into this space, everybody, and I talked to people about it, everybody assumed I was going to come in making musical NFTs. And I said, no, I'm going to try my hand at visual arts initially. So I ended up doing that and ended up selling quite a few pieces, and was just super, super proud of myself for challenging myself and getting into those spaces where actually there were tons of trained photographers. And, you know, not defending my art, but going up there and speaking about it with passion. And it's great. I'm at 40, almost 44. I'm still pushing myself to do different things and pushing those boundaries far, far away, actually trying not to even have any. So personally, I think it's wonderful. Also for artists that have collections that they didn't know what to do with before, this is a great, great, great space to test those collections out. Like if there's an artist that's known for a particular style, or a particular, you know, series or whatever, and they really, really, truly have this other style that they love, but they were scared that people might not identify with it, or people might say that they've, you know, shifted and they don't really care for that. This space is a great place to play around with that. You know, you can put it on different platforms. You can put it within collections on the same platform. You can do whatever you like. Secondly, this is an opportunity to carve out something new. So what I mean by that is it's so brand new. You could almost create a role for yourself, which I have. And sometimes many times I've been given those roles or asked to fulfill a role, and I've just said yes. I think I've said pretty much yes to almost everything. I stopped now because I have no time, but I've said yes to almost everything for the past year. So that has led me to different things. So for example, you want to host events, you want to create a gallery in the metaverse, you want to become active in a particular community. There is a role, I feel there's a role for everybody. You don't have to be an artist, you know, you don't even have to be artsy fartsy creative, any of that. But if you're good with people, you can, you know, become a community manager. If you're good at, I don't know, communications, you can host different Twitter spaces, or you can write Medium articles to promote a project. You can attach yourself to a project that aligns with your, you know, your views and beliefs and stuff like that. You can make connections. You can host. I found myself hosting in real life events here, and it started in Paris, and now I do different things in parts of Italy and things like that. So one thing has led to another, and I have given my all in all of those, you know, different roles. So if I'm there as an artist, I am 100% there talking about my art style and different things like that. If I'm there for as an events planner or coordinator, I'm there for that. If I'm there counseling or advising, I'm doing that. So it's just been wonderful to not be boxed in, you know, and of course you can just stick to being an artist or just stick to being a blockchain expert. It just depends, but you can pretty much do what you want, which is the beauty of this space. And lastly, this is a place to make worldwide connections. So I wrote, Snoop, anyone? I got a little story behind that. So what had happened was, y'all probably gonna be like, she talks so much, but I can't wait to tell you all this. So in what world can you go on a Twitter space and be like, I'm gonna talk to Snoop Dogg today? I am a singer, y'all, singer-songwriter. I have toured with some of the best of them and some of the worst. We won't get into that. But all this to say that I have been exposed to just so many different people in this industry. And I was never able to get close to Snoop. But here we are in this Twitter space, Twitter Spaces. I still haven't figured out if we say Twitter Space or Twitter Spaces, but here we are. I see Snoop sitting in a room pretty much by himself. And I'm like, well, you know, I tell my husband, who's just laying down on the bed, I'm just walk in there and I say, hey, you know what? I'm about to talk to Snoop. And he just looks at me like, he half believes me. We've known each other for 24 years. So he knows I'm a little bit crazy. So he's half like, she is actually telling the truth. And the other part is, nah, this is Snoop. So I said, watch this. I put him on speakerphone, and next thing you hear that very remarkable, unique, one-of-a-kind voice. And he says, hey, Crystal, how you doing? And I said, well, hey, Snoop. And my husband's eyes got this big. And so Snoop at the time had just bought a World of Women. And I am big into the World of Women collection. I bought into that collection right from the get-go. Yam, who is one of the founders and also the illustrator behind the beautiful collection, is part of our NFT Goddesses group as well. And so we had found out about it through that. And Snoop had just bought one. And so I wanted to welcome him to our community, but I just didn't think it was going to happen that fast. And so I told him I was a singer-songwriter here. He was talking about, you know, his NFT label. And his son contacted me and reached out. And so in what other world could you do that? It's the same thing with people that have connected with Eva Longoria and Reese Witherspoon and so many others. And so it's just like Nyla as well, who went into a space, and the next thing she knew, Nyla from Long Necky Ladies, let me back up because I do speak as if everybody knows what I'm talking about all the time. Nyla is now a 13-year-old NFT superstar. I love her to death. She explained how she got to be the Time magazine, you know, Artist of the Year, the featured artist, and she just simply was courageous enough to speak up in a clubhouse room. And so this is a magical place. This is the magic of this place. You can, you know, in 1 second speak to maybe your icon or the person you've been trying to reach for years. Again, let me just say, I've sung with or worked with a lot of people, could never get close to Snoop. And here I am in 1 second talking to Snoop, and it was amazing. And it takes a lot to move me. The whole celebrity thing, I'm just like, whatever, it's not my priority. I don't really care. But I must admit, talking to Snoop Dogg did something to my inner teenager. And I was just all smiles all day. So, don't be afraid to go into these spaces and to speak, to ask questions, to find your people that you like. I know a lot of, I had like 7 or 8 women of color reach out to me after I spoke on a known origin space. And they said to me that they never felt comfortable speaking in these spaces until they heard me speak. So I said, listen, if you need some help, if you need someone to listen to you, I'm here and I'll invite you into my spaces as well. So here's my journey. I'm going to try to wrap it up because I know that I know that there are other people. My journey and what it is that I really do, because do we really know? First and foremost, I have been an artist since December of 2020. I am on Known Origin, Foundation, Rarible, OpenSea, and Object.com. Also Hic and Nunc, however we pronounce that. Basically the Tezos-based platforms. I make one-of-ones, and every now and then I make additions. I do mixed media, photos, short film, and music. So what you see here is the top 2 photos are of Paris. I like to use train stations, abandoned alleys, and things like that. Things that are usually really just gray and not necessarily aesthetic, if you will. And I take photos of them. I strip them of all their color, and then I go in and I manually add all of the different colors just as a personal challenge. And I try to revive those particular areas. The 2 photos on the bottom, actually the one with the beautiful dancer from Florida called LaMichael Leonard, who is like the muse for so many runways here and top brands. And he's just an amazing, talented human being. He is also the MC for a very prestigious institution called the Lido, which is like the Moulin Rouge, but like even higher. And we came out with a collaboration that involves him dancing. A beautiful young lady named Cindy Aubrière, who did the cinematography, and then I did the soundscape. So I really wanted to show you the video, but I didn't want to take a chance, and I didn't want it to be buggy. So don't hesitate to go on to my profile that I'll show you at the end and check out the music video, because it's some of the work that I'm the proudest of in this space. And it was the first time that I really collaborated with someone or 2 someones. And then right next to it is just the soundtrack. So if people want to just, listen to the music. I am an ambassador, I'm a connector, and I'm a counselor. So more precisely, I'm an ambassador for Known Origin, my favorite platform. I love the team. I love that they reached out to me about a year ago to help them find people of color, and then later on, Black people for their October Black History Month in the UK. And ever since then, I have not let them go. They have not let me go, and they really are trying to do the work. They're trying to make sure that it remains like a human-sized, relatable platform. They're really trying to make it so artists can make a decent living. They're always open to suggestions, and that's why I joined them as the ambassador of inclusion. My job is to onboard new artists of the BIPOC community. I help curate work for specific Known Origin collections, and I get to propose new initiatives that help out the community. And I absolutely love that. It's not like work at all. It's just pure fun. Even when we have our monthly meetings or our bi-weekly meetings, it's just amazing to be with such an open, diverse, and humane group of individuals. Backing up just a little bit, again, when I entered the space, I saw that there was not a lot of representation when it came to specifically to people of the African diaspora. So in December or January of 2021, I opened up an Instagram page called Black NFT Creators. And that page was to highlight future and current NFT artists from around the diaspora. and also to offer any sort of free counsel that I could at the time, because again, I was just, going along as I could, and in making my way, and also serving as a bridge at the time between OpenSea and Black people who wanted to be on my page, because OpenSea was trying to diversify, et cetera, et cetera. I've since not really worked with OpenSea as much. Again, I'm all team known origin, and I love the page Black NFT creators, because on my end, there's no expectation behind it. People come on there every now and then, they ask me if I can help promote them. It's just, whether or not I think that it's a viable project, if it's a PFP project, or if it's a one-of-one, is it pretty? Is it beautiful? Does it speak to you? Does it paint a picture? Does it evoke some sort of emotion? It's just as simple as that. And some people think it's a lot more complicated, so they send a whole resume and all this other stuff. And I'm like, woof, I don't have that type of time. Just send me what you have and we can make it work. Or not, because sometimes people, they really try it. And sometimes people are not Black. That is a requirement, and so I do seek that out as well. I do my own research, because I have some people that have artwork around Black people, but it does not qualify them to be on this page. And lastly, if they need help with something, or if they have a question, or if they're looking for a foundation invite, I try to help them with things like that. It doesn't go beyond that, just because, number one, I'm not an agency. There's Black NFT art that does that very well. It's a job. That's a full-time job to try to represent people, and that is not what I want to do. I'm purely a connector in that specific space. And lastly, and this is the most interesting for now, just because it is truly me feeling my way through this position and loving it the entire way. I'm a counselor at Global Crypto Art, and Global Crypto Art is a DAO that is responsible for the first NFT exhibition ever at the Venice Biennale. Now, Venice Biennale, for those of you who don't know, is like the oldest and the biggest and the most prestigious art exhibition, that's French, exhibition, I'm sorry, of all time. People come there from all around the world for that event that takes place from April to November. There are also a series of awards given for cinema, for dance, music. I believe they're one of the first art exhibitions to have a musical element to them. And they really, really, really are responsible for launching the careers of many notable artists, people that we recognize today. So it really is, it's an honor to exhibit there. And it's an honor for me to be on the council, because I got to help choose the artists that were or are a part of this very first NFT exhibition. I chose 3 particular artists: Lana Danina from Canada, Gabe Weiss from the US, and Siobhan Wong from Singapore. And they are phenomenal. And it will be taking place, and this is historic as well, it'll be taking place at the Cameroon Pavilion. And Cameroon is a country that has never exhibited at the Biennale. So it's a great match for the first NFT exhibition to take place in their physical space. So we're very honored to partner up with them. I work with POAP, which is Proof of Attendance Protocol. And together we come up with the artwork, and that's what we're doing here, the artwork and the roadmap for people to go and to assist in the, to attend these events and to have a badge, basically a memory that says they were there. It's a free NFT. It's an amazing thing as well, because imagine if you could have had a POAP or an NFT when you saw Michael Jackson, like in 1988 or something, you would have that proof to this day. And so that's what we're going to have from April to November at the Biennale. And like I said, I'm a member of the GCA, Global Crypto Art DAO. And just really briefly, artists, don't just jump into this space. Don't just dive into this space. I have a friend. I love her dearly. I love you dearly if you're watching this, and I won't say your name. But she literally was like, oh my gosh, look, thank you so much for the foundation invite. I just minted, but I don't know what minting is. And I also paid something that's called Gwei, but I don't know what I did. And so that's what you don't want to do. So now we're kind of backing up and starting from the beginning with her. You got to ask yourself why you're coming into this space. What is it like? What is your why? Is this something you want to do in the long term? Is this something you want to do parallel to what you're doing, you know, in real life? You have to figure that part out. What are you going to do? Are you going to come in and just pretty much bring what you were doing before into this space? Are you going to be like me and try something different? Just try things out and see where your happy place is. How are you going to do it? When I say how, I mean, are you going to have a sort of timeline, a roadmap? Are you going to have a team? Are you a one man, one woman, one person show? These are things that are really, really important to consider. When are you giving yourself a timeline? Are you going to just, you know, put it on a platform and see what happens? Are you going to set things up, you know, at a particular time? For example, with Known Origin, if you want to have a chance to be featured on their front page, you have to have your work in at a specific time, like by Sunday evening, for it to be shown on their Thursday, you know, highlight day. So there are things to consider, I think, instead of just putting it up there, to give yourselves more chances and more opportunities for it to be seen, you know. So you want to get those eyes, the eyes of the collectors on there, and you got to do it in a strategic way. With whom? This applies to people that want to do joint projects. Make sure you go into this space knowing and loving the person that, or the people that you're going to collaborate with. And please don't use one wallet for everybody, because this is the blockchain and this is permanent. So if, I don't know, CC gets all the money and the royalties for life, there's no guarantee that CC is going to send those to you. And even when CC passes on, bless her soul, you know, CC's family is going to get that money. And so you want to work it out to where you can have a joint, you can have a wallet that is either a multi-sig wallet or a wallet where you can all get your pay. And it's just, you know, and that's easily done on a platform like Known Origin. Or you can have someone write it in smart contract. That is beyond my, you know, I can't do that basically. And what platform best works for your NFTs? There's several different ones, but it's best to research them and to see if you want to be on an ETH-based one, if you want to be on OpenSea, if you want to be on a Solana-based one that I know a lot less about, if you want to be on a Tezos-based one. That's all up to you, artists. But please, please, if there's one thing I can encourage you to do, it really is to take the time to educate yourself about what it is that you'd like to do in this space, and make sure you have at least the basics down, so you won't be frustrated. You won't say this space is a scam. You won't get, you know, deterred, and you'll thrive, and you'll want to do more and more, and you'll find your community. So with that said, I'm going to wrap it up, and don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can find me pretty much all the time on Twitter or on Instagram. I'm in various Discords. I'm not so much on Telegram, every now and then on Clubhouse, but you can't ever say that you can't find me. So please look me up if you ever want to connect. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. I hope you learned something.
Thank you very much, Crystal. Man, that was a thorough introduction to this entire space, and also getting to know you a little bit more. So I really appreciate that. I congratulate you once again on everything that you're working on. And also, man, I'm jealous. Like, you got to talk to Snoop Dogg. That's awesome.
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
thank
very
you.
cool how like this space allows you to tap into people from all across the globe and
Yeah.
every walks of life. And like when you're either on Spaces or Clubhouse and you're like chilling with MC Hammer or
Yeah. Right.
that, you're like, whoa, like really? Like this is what this space presents, right? This is
Exactly.
the decentralization and what we're really trying to build and cultivate. So
Yes.
I really love everything that you said. I love the work that you're doing, the fact that you're making sure that we all are included in this space, and that's very much important. So thank you for that.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. And thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Well, thank you. So now what we're going to do is take a brief intermission, and then we will be back with our last speaker. Thank you.
Take care.
We are back. All right. Our last presentation comes from a woman who's been in this space. She's been in several different groups and organizations, getting this NFT platform and spaces that we're creating up and making sure that women are represented in this space. So I knew her from NFT Tips, which is a Clubhouse NFT room. But you guys will get to get an introduction to her, and she will be presenting her own NFTs to you. So I want to bring up Jen Joy. Jen Joy, come on up.
Hi, how are you?
Good, Jen Joy. How are you?
I'm doing very well. It's an honor to be here, and I'm just glad to be talking with you and listening to everybody. It's such a great conference.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Now, I know you're working on a whole lot in this space, so I want you to take the time to introduce yourself and also projects that you're working on and maybe even your own collection.
Sure. So I actually am, I will show some work that I'm doing, but I'm Jen Joy Roybal. I've been helping and supporting with Searchlight. I'm a co-founder with about 8 other members, core members, but we have about 500 different artists that are part of our organization. And I'm going to quickly share my screen here. Maybe it won't share, so that's okay. What I wanted to just share a little bit about Searchlight, and Searchlight is a primarily curated, driven, women-led, community-oriented organization, and we provide signature events and performances, exhibitions, and we help curators and DAOs and PFT teams. We've worked with technology platforms and institutions, basically helping people achieve their goals through the blockchain technology. And I guess we're best known, and where we really started hitting the ground running was during Bitcoin conference in June of 2021, where we did the first largest scale NFT exhibition in real life. Obviously coming off the pandemic, and we showcased about 200 artists across 5 different venues. We discovered there's a real appetite for artists and technologists on the blockchain to come together. We ended up doing the exhibition for the NFT NYC during the 2021 conference in November, which was showcased during the OpenSea and Spatial events. And so, being women-led, we do have a very strong commitment and interest in making sure that BIPOC people are represented. So the women that are on the team, we all come from different backgrounds. We also really work hard to cultivate new people into the space. So we recognize that there's a lot of different I would say, like, different platforms that are really cherry picking artists that can, like, right out of the gate be successful, and that's great. Our interest is really cultivating and developing the space, and we have an interest, I would say, in becoming a leader, and I feel that we are, in helping influence and shape the space so that it becomes the kind of environment that we all want to be part of. And so that's why I'm completely excited to hear about all the people speaking here, as well as learning about the new artists. So that aligns really well with our ambitions. We work in real life exhibitions. We do the metaverse, as well as the virtual. I'm sorry, augmented reality. And so some of you may have learned about our projects. The first one was, or the most recent was a Domance exhibition, and it was it was in the alt space, VR space, in collaboration with the virtual vortex circle. And it was just the first dome immersive experience using NFTs and training. Like, we trained about 40 artists to learn how to create immersive artwork in a virtual space. And so I mentioned that project because it's one of part of what we try to do is bring artists through a process by virtue of sharing their work, but they usually learn something along the way. A lot of artists that we work with are coming out of, regular analog work, very accomplished. But they're learning how to mint on the blockchain. They're learning how to show their work to collectors, how to move their work to collectors. And so we have a strong interest in that educational process and kind of shepherding and fostering their development. And I think that's a differentiator for us. That's different from what you may see in some of the other blockchains that are primarily driven because they have to be by business and their bottom line. And so oftentimes you'll see, like, we were the first people to show some of the big names that are out there now. And I think we'll continue to foster and develop artists that are going to, make it big and graduate to some of the more coveted, I would say, coveted platforms. Uh, right now at South by Southwest, we have a large augmented reality exhibition happening all along the streets of Austin. We are also along the Lady Bird Lake, and we invited all of our global artists from everywhere to submit works that address the cultural, the environmental, political, you name it, any kind of like inspired aspects of the Lady Bird Lake as well as the downtown Austin, its surroundings. And so if you are in South by Southwest right now, you would have been able to capture some beautiful works inside the convention center. You would be able to walk down one of the main thoroughfares where you can see augmented reality artworks that are also NFTs. And the really interesting piece to this is we partnered with Illuspace. And Illuspace allows artists to really connect with their collectors and people who interact. So by virtue of just viewing the artwork at South by Southwest, our artists get to have a direct connection with those people who looked at their work and also those people who purchased their work. And so I share that not only because it's really exciting and fun. It's a really interesting way to integrate into the city, so it functions as a public art, but also it gives access to the kind of stories and narratives that we place on the landscape, rather than just having kind of like the old school white man on a horse version of a public square. Right now, we have like layers of stories happening all along the streets of Austin. And we're hoping that this is a really sets the stage for more of that kind of activity across all these different cities, not only here in the States, but abroad. The really cool piece of it that I will mention is we launched what's called Proof of Presence, which allows somebody to sort of check in geospatially. So whatever your coordinates are. So I put up an artwork at the convention during South by Southwest. Somebody can check in and they get a proof of presence. Now that they've checked into my work, I get to send them something that may be an event for later in the day. And we did this. So yesterday we had everybody do their pops, check it, go check out all the artwork. And then they in turn got a secret location for a really cool concert that we did with Mesh Records. And in this particular event, we also partnered with Mint Gold Dust, which is it's been around, but it's not as like widely broadcast, but it is an art minting platform. And the cool thing about working with Mint Gold Dust and Illuspace was just the care that they took with artists, really understanding their narrative, really understanding their story, and helping them through this process. So yeah, yesterday we had this amazing concert at South by Southwest with Lear, who's an environmental musician, focused musician. And we also had Ed Balloon, which is, one of our favorite musicians and artists in the NFT space. And it was quite the party. So yeah, I don't know if there's any questions here. We do have an open call coming up in April, so I want to let everybody know about that. Usually we do a couple of different phone calls, Zooms, Clubhouses, Twitter Spaces, whatever, and to help artists kind of figure out what they're going to submit. This time around, we will encourage all the artists to keep their works updated on the site, because what happens with the Searchlight artist pool, which is the last thing I'll talk about, I have two more things to talk about and then I'll wrap it up. But with the Searchlight artist pool, we are made up of a bunch of artist curators. And so there's about 8 of us. We do regular Searchlight projects, like I mentioned, NFT NYC, South by Southwest. We were at Art Basel. We have projects at NFT LA, and on and on. That being said, the pool, we also broker conversations with other platforms. A few of our curators are ambassadors to other platforms like Known Origin and Maker's Place and Rareable, and Super Rare. And what that means is that oftentimes we're working with other curators and other platforms, looking at the pool and trying to basically pull out artists that really make sense for a particular project. We notify those artists, we connect them with the curator. So while Searchlight is doing their own projects, we're also offering up opportunities for our artists in the Searchlight pool. And the whole goal for that is, when we entered in the space, we're like, a lot of us were the part of the Clubhouse class of 2021, we like to call it. When we entered in the space, there wasn't a lot of places to show your work. It wasn't happening as much. And then there were a lot of small pockets that were hard to get into. And so we decided we needed to create a there for artists, not only for, to celebrate the work that we love and that we collect, but also to allow a place for other artists who were coming into this space to really showcase their work and have something to talk about. So now when you're going into a room or you're talking with somebody now in these virtual spaces, you can talk about, well, right now I'm at NFT NYC. This is a piece I decided to do. This is why. I'm at Art Basel. Here's what I focused on. Now I'm at South by Southwest. And, I decided to work on this theme. It's located here, on and so forth. And so I think it's really important for to get as many artists the opportunity to showcase their work. And I will say one of the biggest missions and one of the reasons why we even came together as a team was we really are, the holy grail for us is having as many artists on the planet become financially sovereign through these new technologies on the blockchain. And so that's why we're huge fans of you all. We love being here. And we think that the training that is done to help everybody move forward is critical. And I think a lot of us understand the revolution and the sort of the breakthrough that's happening with this technology. And I just feel like our group is really committed to being here to make sure that we have and carve out a space that is equitable, that is just, that is inclusive. And we're not going to be doing that if we stay on the sidelines with this conversation. So that leads me to my next thing is we often partner up with platforms. I make an effort, my colleagues make an effort to make sure that we're informing the design of these platforms. And I really advocate that for anybody to get involved in how these things are built. Right now, my opinion is that many of these things are a little bit too heavily, the power of the developer in this space is a little bit uneven to the rest of the voices, in my opinion, across the globe, but in this space that need to be had. And so one of our other charges is to make sure that we are helping to shape how platforms are built, what they do, who are included. And so that's another piece of our work. The last thing I will say is we just put out two different artworks. One is through Searchlight. One is the caked camels. So it's a spin on the derivatives with the caked apes, Cake Nygaard, who produced that beautiful derivative. And so you can go to searchlight.art to check out that collection. All of the artists, curators that are involved on the team came up with their own versions. I wish I could have shared my screen. I'm just not savvy enough here to show all all the stuff I had shared for you. So I hope it's okay. Let's see. I'm looking at some questions here. What are the needs for women in the NFT space was the first question I had. Well, I think that it's really interesting because on the one hand, you have this sort of like almost marketing PR propaganda around elevating women. But then on the other hand, my personal experience has been it's incredibly challenging to actually get real access, to actually be really collected, to be taken seriously. And I don't know why that is. Like there's a discrepancy. So my attitude and the attitude of the women that I started, and an interesting story with Searchlight is, we got started because we were shunned and pushed aside and ignored, and our perspectives weren't valued in a different space. And so we were like, fine, we'll make our own thing. And so that's kind of how I feel. I'm like, I'm not going to wait around for whether it's a guy or whoever, whatever that the other person is, or the other thing is, the other power of authority is, to validate what I need to do, what I need to see, how I need to move. And so like, for me, what women need to do, or what women need in this space, is they just need to take their agency and go do their beautiful selves. And that's what I'm seeing across the stage. It's like, don't wait around for anybody to be like, oh, your idea is good, or, oh, go and do it and just make it happen. That's my opinion.
I so agree with that, Jen Joy. And that's a fantastic mantra to live by, right? Just go and do it, right? Because in this space, we are decentralized. Everybody has a voice. Everybody's opinion does matter. And so we can't sit around waiting to be validated. We have to make sure that we validate ourselves and do what we want to do, right, in this space. And I'm seeing a lot of women who are doing that, and they're really taking that to light and using that to propel them forward. And that's the reason why we have the International Women of Blockchain. Last year, a lot of women were talking about how they didn't feel that there was enough women projects that were being spotlighted or showcased. And so having this conference that's month long on the Women History Month, right? It's basically showcasing that women are here, and we're here in droves. It's not just a sprinkle of us. It's not just certain, few, but it's a lot of us, and we're international, right? And so that's what I love about having to speak to you, the projects that you're working with, and, showcasing the different women in this space. So thank you very much for the work that you're doing. I can't wait to go through Searchlight and see a lot more of familiar faces, because I'm sure some of the ladies I already know are already there. So I'm excited, and for you to onboard more people. So you mentioned briefly about the onboarding. If there are females who are interested in having their projects showcased at searchlight.art, what is the process that they should take?
Okay, so my colleague Pilar Cote, who also came out of NFTs.tips, partnered with us as well. She does an amazing job. So in January, she did an exhibition that she led for Searchlight around around women who are I guess violence against women campaign, right, was happening in January. And she's the one, in my opinion, who really makes a concerted effort. This is her passion, her mission, to bring women into the exhibitions. So she showcased a particular issue there. This month, she's doing another work with women. So I think if you are a woman out there, you are motivated to get your work on the blockchain, to show your exhibition, to show your work, sorry, then all you have to do is DM me on Twitter, DM our Searchlight, go sign up for the Searchlight Call for Artists. We want you. And we're a perfect gateway into the NFT space, in my opinion, because we really handhold and help artists who need that support. And all of us are women. We have a few guys on the team. We love them. But most of us are women in the same position, you know, trying to learn all the things, doing all the stuff. So I welcome anybody out there listening. Please go sign up. Please join the Searchlight Artist Pool. We always welcome new artists, and definitely keeping an eye for women and BIPOC artists.
Awesome. Awesome. And if they wanted to connect with you on Twitter, what is your handle?
I'm at Jen Joy Roybal. Pretty straightforward. My full name there, smashed together, and you'll find me on Twitter. And then you can find Searchlight also on Twitter. Just Searchlight, or the handle is at Search NFTs, I think. Yeah. But you can just do a Searchlight and you'll find us.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Jen Joy. Really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're working on a lot, so I don't want to take too much of your time. Thank you very much. Really
Thanks for having me, and thanks for this. It's a beautiful project. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Wow. That was an impactful day. We gave you a lot of stuff to think about for this NFT space. And I'm really excited that you guys were introduced to a lot of NFT artists and NFT individuals in the NFT space who are working hard and making sure that this space is fully diversified, as well as there's a lot of inclusion here. Thank you all to the individuals who are viewing this program. Thank you very much to Hero and Sarala for joining us this morning and being our keynote speaker. I really appreciate it. I want you guys to join us again tomorrow for Worldwide Wednesday. We're going to have a thorough, deep discussion about community in Web3. It's going to be really important for you guys to tune in and get to hear from these ladies who are building, creating, and cultivating this community that we're building, as well as educating people about the space. So we want to see you tap in. There's a month-long conference after all, so definitely want to tap in. Join us in our Discord. You will have the ability to talk to the speakers in our Discord, as well as connect with our sponsors as well. So we want to see you come into the Discord and be active and take advantage of the possibility that there may be different opportunities for you in the Discord. If you're new to this space, you definitely want to be in our Discord and start communicating with a lot of these speakers, the committee members, the sponsors, because that's how you grow your community. I want to encourage all of you to join us next time, tomorrow, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, a.m. We want you to join, tap in, and get ready for a Worldwide Wednesday. Thank you very much, everyone.